Every day, thousands of dogs and cats are euthanized in shelters across North America. But there are organizations working tirelessly to change that. Dr. Peter Rourke is a former orthopedic surgeon, lifelong pilot, and co-founder of Dog is My Co-Pilot, an organization that takes to the sky to save the lives of healthy, adoptable dogs and cats. To date, they've saved thousands. But how is the pandemic impacting their efforts? Dr. Rourke, thanks for taking some time on the ground for us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It's a very busy time. In fact, you're headed out for a flight now. What's the role of Dog as My Co-Pilot in animal rescue and adoption?
Sure, the Dog is My Co-Pilot provides the long distance transportation to get the dogs out of the high risk shelters. We fly primarily from the south to the north. And if these aren't bad people, but they have to use euthanasia as part of their animal control tool because it's, as you know, for every dog that's in a shelter, there's a human responsible. And of course, the answer is spay and neuter and adopt, don't shop. Short of that, they're still overrun, and the shelters in the south can't put a dog or 20 dogs in a van and drive them 3 hours to safety because those locations are also in the same situation. So what we do, we fly a Cessna Caravan, and we can fly 100 up to 250 at a time, and we'll fly them 1,000 miles away. And so that completely opens up the doors geographically for these organizations that are doing everything that they possibly can to save as many lives as they can. So you mentioned I'm in the middle of a flight. I'm in Salt Lake right now, picking up some empty crates that I'll fly down to El Paso tomorrow. We'll fill the crates, and tomorrow morning I'll be flying from El Paso back to Salt Lake, to Sun Valley, Idaho, and over to Portland, Oregon, with an aircraft full of dogs. Now, if you were to put the 20 or 30 dogs in a van and drive them to Portland from El Paso, it would be 28 hours on the road. And keep in mind that these drivers don't stop every 3 hours and let the dogs out to pee. Once they're in the crate till they get to their destination. So it's really tough on everybody. So the drivers can't stop and spend the night at a hotel. I mean, they have to go. And then they have to turn around and come back. So Dog is My Co-Pilot provides that transportation for them. We're a nonprofit. We don't charge the senders or receivers. They have enough problems on their own. We rely on public donations to keep our fuel tanks full. I've been at this for a little over 8 years now, and we're going strong. We should hit 17,000 animals saved this month.
Well, in the past, you've rescued dogs displaced by hurricanes from as far away as Korea. And as you say, you do this at no cost. It must be interesting to fly with a couple hundred or more barking passengers.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience. They're actually pretty quiet. They're very noisy when they're on the ramp prior to loading. But once they're in the aircraft and the doors are shut and then I spin the turbine to get going, this is a new sound for them. And honestly, these dogs have been through so much. They're probably just wondering, is it going to hurt? So it's we take off. Our flights are usually 4 to 5 hours in length for our first stop. And they're quiet the whole time, primarily until they start the descent. The air starts getting a little thicker again, and maybe their lips are a little less blue from the oxygen, and then they start making noise. But every animal that gets on board is got the golden ticket. They're on their way to their forever home, and they're on their way to an organization that will never put down a healthy animal.
Well, pun intended, the idea is really taking off. As your organization grew, you actually had to upgrade to a larger plane?
Yeah, I had a Cessna 206, which is a 6-seater piston engine aircraft that I had for my personal use. And when I started the nonprofit, I was transporting one animal at a time from A to B, and I honestly had no idea how big of the problem was until I met with Marty Watts, who runs the San Francisco SPCA, and we were trying to set up a collaborative relationship between the Animal Adoption Center in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is my home, and San Francisco. But Marty said, you know what, let me introduce you to someone who could really use your help. So Sharon Lohman down in Merced, California, which is in the Central Valley. And I flew down there and she walked me through the local animal facility. And they had a euthanasia rate of over 90%. And so she was desperate to save as many animals as she can. Her organization is called New Beginnings. So they would put the 20 or 30 animals in the back of a van and drive them to Portland, Seattle, Missoula, Boise, Denver, Salt Lake City. And again, these are 14, 16-hour drives, tough on the drivers, tough on the animals. And I told Sharon, look, that's a 4-hour flight for me. Let me do that for you. So I took all the seats out of the back of the aircraft. And this was a smaller airplane. So it's... I could put 20 or 30 small crates in it, but the real big problem with the animal adoption centers are the large dogs that don't get adopted. Everybody wants that dog that goes in the handbag. And so I could only put a couple of those large crates because we bulk out because of the size of the crate, not necessarily because of the weight of the dog. So I did that for about 4 years. I was flying about 1,000 dogs a year. And I'm really kind of a big dog kind of guy. So I knew that I had to get a larger aircraft. And I knew the aircraft that was perfect for the mission was a Cessna Caravan. And I also knew that it was way out of our budget. So I enlisted the help of an aircraft broker who found aircraft after aircraft that just didn't fit the bill. So we finally found one up in Canada from a mining company that was shutting down its flight department. And went up to take a look at it. And this thing was just all beaten up. It looked terrible, but it had been meticulously maintained. And I opened up the inside of the aircraft. The ceiling was coming down and everything. And I looked at it, I said, perfect. It's perfect for what we need to do. The dogs don't care what it looks like. The aircraft is in great mechanical shape. So I purchased the aircraft and we went from flying 1,000 dogs a year to flying 3,000 dogs a year. So it really has taken off. And then for the last 8 years, I did all the flying myself. And let me tell you, I've been flying for over 50 years and the thrill is gone. I knew I was using my skills and my resources to address a need that I didn't even know existed, and a lot of people don't even know exists until you're in it. And so last year, the Petco Foundation was kind enough to offer us the award, the Love in Action Award, and with that came a one-time grant. That grant allowed me to go out and bring on 3 volunteer pilots and get them trained. And so I was just adding up the hours yesterday on a flight. I flew a flight out of Van Nuys, California. And the other pilots have flown close to 350 hours with 3 of them, and I've flown 350 hours. So it's less flying than I've done, but more flying than I still want to do. So we're still looking for volunteer pilots who are qualified in a Caravan, and I'd love to talk with you. So written into our DNA, we only fly from nonprofit to nonprofit because honestly, we're inundated every week by personal requests to transport one dog from A to B. Well, there's a program out there called Pilots and Paws where you get the part-time pilots who want to go fly their airplane, and it's a real feel-good mission, and it's a real game changer for that one dog. But we're interested in saving hundreds and thousands of dogs. So we only do the nonprofit to nonprofit. We only go from the kill to the non-kill. And of course, we don't charge anything. So that's our, the 3 things that we follow written into our DNA.
Well, there isn't an industry in the world that isn't going through major disruptions right now. Animal rescues are no exception, I'm sure. How has the pandemic changed or challenged your operations?
Well, it was in the beginning, it essentially shut us down because all of our receiving partners said, we're not letting the volunteers in, we're not accepting any dogs. And the sending partners were still taking in 100 dogs a day. And so the euthanasia rate went way up. Well, the flip side of that, with so many people staying home, the receiving groups now have empty kennels. And so they reached out to us and said, help, we need dogs. And of course, the sending groups are only too happy. So we really kicked into high gear. And we've been flying 6 and sometimes 7 days a week, transporting the animals from the south to the north. Now, personally, my concern is that's great now that the doors have opened again. My concern is the backlash that when people go back to work, that they are suddenly saying, well, I don't want my dog to stay at home all day by himself. I'm going to return him to the kennel or to the shelter. And honestly, isn't your dog better off sleeping 6 hours on your couch than laying on a concrete floor in a kennel in some animal center? So and I don't get that. Now, I have 3 rescue dogs that I've plucked from my flights for my own personal pleasure. And actually, you already know the answer to this. We don't do the choosing of the dogs. The dogs choose us, and they look at us and we say, okay, you're coming home with me. And so I have 3 dogs at home. I'd have more if I could, but a 3 is kind of my limit right now. So the pandemic, I'm waiting for that second wave of issues and problems for our organization, where suddenly the receiving groups are full again, and the sending groups are screaming, what do we do now? So.
Well, there are definitely people who are not in a position to adopt a pet right now as much as they would like to. What are other ways that people can support animals in need at this time?
Yeah, that's an excellent point, because people think, well, I can't adopt a pet. Well, if you can't adopt, you can certainly foster. Now, I understand that a lot of people live in homes or rental homes that don't allow any pets. And so, but if you can, and if you can foster one, actually foster 2. They keep each other company. And remember that every animal that you save saves 2, the one that you save and the one that takes its place. So it can be really helpful to the situation. Now, if you can't adopt and you can't foster, go by your local shelter and volunteer. See what it's all about. They could always use the help. Changing the water, socializing the animals, teaching them voice commands, teaching them how to walk on a leash, food, exercise, grooming, that can all be very helpful. So those are 3 ways. And if you can't do those 3 ways, and I know financially times are tough right now, but if you could just pull out and donate $5, you have no idea what these groups can do with a $5 bill. It is amazing. And if you don't want to give money to strangers, bring a bag of dog food by, or bring some dog treats or some dog toys or leashes and collars or whatever. Just be part of the solution. There's so many people sitting on the sidelines. And honestly, I was one of them. I had no idea until, and I'll never forget the date. It was the 4th of September, 2012, when Sharon Lohman walked me through that facility. And there were 5 or 6 dogs in a kennel that was designed for 1 animal. And, I could see the look on these dogs' faces, and I felt terrible. And it changed the direction of my life right at that point. I had left medicine. I was flying my airplane, flying a dog or 2. And that one day and that one tour through the facility completely opened up my eyes that I could do so much more to help. And so that's what started the organization.
Well, for as long as there are abandoned pets and shelter crowding and they remain a reality, Dog is My Co-Pilot will be in the air helping animals find safe, loving, and forever homes. Dr. Rourke, thanks for sharing your incredible story with NewsPoint today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And keep in mind, this is not a dog problem. This is a people problem. So it's up to us to be the solution.
Best with your flight today.
Well, thank you so much.